Open the meeting, please rise. Marv, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Forrester, are there any additions to the agenda?
No additions tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
I'm down to the consent agenda. If everybody's had a chance to look at it. Open to a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Visitors' appearances and requests. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to us? It's not scheduled. There is a schedule. Please step up and tell us who you are. And
Hi, everybody. My name is John Halen. I'm the new sales rep for Republic Services here in Prineville. And I just wanted to introduce myself and say hi to everybody. And I'm just glad to be here and attend and see how you guys all work. So thank you so much.
thank you.
Thanks, John.
Anybody else in the audience that would like to speak to us? Is there anybody on Zoom who wants to speak? All right. All right, we'll move on. Item number 2, relocation of the Y Spurs, Phil Burgess and Councilor Sumner, but I think Commissioner Crawford's here too. Are you? And Joel Hoff. So we have a bunch of people here. Oh, Wayne Looney. Wayne's involved with everything.
I mean, I'm on.
You are.
Yes.
There's Ellen. Woo. I was beginning to worry. My name's Phil Burgess. I have become the kind of the team leader of this project to relocate Spurs. I'd like to introduce some of the other people in the audience here that are a part of the team. And Ellen Waterston, she's going to give us a few words and introduce herself, but I want to make it really clear one item. Ellen was responsible for the original construction of Spurs in 1982, and here she is 44 years later, still involved, and indeed was the kind of the catalyst for the idea to relocate Spurs. Seth Crawford, I was advised to introduce or to let the county know what plans we had, and Seth immediately stepped up, and he's become active in the group as well. Councilor Sumner, Marv heard first of this through the Crook County Foundation Board, and actually Gail Merritt suggested that I contact Marv and ask him to be part of the liaison with the city council, and he indeed has done that. Dan McNary is part of the team. He can't make it. He had a FFA prior commitment, but he, of course, is the ag and welding instructor from the high school. Wayne Looney is representing Kiwanis, who provided some of the seed money and is our primary sponsor, cost-wise, for this project. Who else can I introduce? So Joel Hoff is here, and I think that's it. So let me just, say a few words, and then I'm going to ask Alan to come up and talk about kind of the history of the project real quick. But it's been about a year since Ellen first suggested that we think about relocating Spurs. She was holding a meeting at the college for high school students on writing as our Oregon Poet Laureate and writing aficionado. Since then, a significant community effort has formed to make that happen, relocate Spurs. The result of that effort is our request tonight to get firm approval from the city to move Spurs to a new location. Councilor Sumner became involved several months ago to act as our liaison. As I said, he supports this effort and helped set up tonight's meeting. And as I also mentioned, when Seth first learned of the project, he was extremely interested and has been instrumental in helping with some of the mechanics of this. And with the help of Casey and Josh, we have identified 2 locations in town that we are suggesting for relocating spurs. What we hope to accomplish tonight is to gain your approval for moving forward with this project and I've got it underlined, and to gain your commitment to have the city manage the process to relocate spurs. According to Aaron Smith, at ODOT, the District 10 supervisor in our area, the city has the authority to manage the process of moving spurs out of the ODOT right-of-way at the Y intersection. The city also has the required performance bond already in place, and there will be no need for the city in this case to actually fill out a formal application, although he would appreciate being informed when the project starts. We also have a commitment from Don Porfili Jr. to act as the contractor, actually do the physical moving of spurs. And then the idea would be to move it to the high school where Don McNary's advanced welding class will make the necessary modifications to the sculpture base for installation at its new location. With the completion of the high school portion of the project by the end of the school year, our plan is to enter the sculpture refitted with a new base in the Crooked River Roundup Parade. Ron Cholin at Stinger will sponsor the parade entry and then deliver spurs to the fairground later that morning for all to see as they enter the Saturday evening rodeo. So with that, I'm going to ask Ellen to tell us what you got.
Well, according to the clock, I was an hour early. Just saying. Thanks, Phil, and thanks. I second the motion to all the people that Phil acknowledged in terms of moving this project forward. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly the sort of the genesis of my mentioning to Phil that this was a project I'd been involved with years and years ago. But I'm so delighted, and it's just so vintage Prineville that so many people have gotten interested, and certain people have committed to it. And Phil's energy and enthusiasm, I miss Prineville, I have to say. It's a very precious community, so I hope you're managed to keep it that way. Good luck. Anyhow, here's my story, and I'm sticking to it. At the time, I was living on the South Fork of the Crooked River, ranching with my husband, and I made very good friends with Pauline Schelk. And though she was a good 60 years older than I, she and I became very, very close friends. And we got into all kinds of creative trouble in Prineville. We brought the Ashland Shakespeare Festival, a little troupe here once, and they took over a meeting room just adjacent to the Cinnabar bar. And one poor gentleman pulled open the accordion doors, having had a few drinks, and there were performers in full Shakespearean regalia, and he decided he'd had much too much to drink and quickly shut the doors and left. Well, and at the time I was serving on the Oregon Arts Commission, I think because I filled a bunch of slots, Central Oregon, rural, I don't know what. So I got appointed and learned about this concept of public art. And I mentioned it to Pauline, and she said, well, maybe we should do that here. So the next thing was Ray Clevenger got involved. He said he was running the metals workshop or a class then at the high school. And then a sculptor who'd been doing a lot of big commissions around the state that I'd learned about while I was on the Arts Commission, Tom Morandi, he said, oh, sure, I'll work with the metals class in Prineville. And the next thing was Tom Morandi came and did some workshops and had all the students draw a sketch of what they thought might represent the spirit of this town. And then they all voted. All the students voted among themselves and they chose the Spurs. Well, we kind of think, at least Ray and Pauline and I and a few others at the time thought it might be the largest welded sheet metal sculpture in the Northwest. We're not sure about that, but it's not your common approach. And then all kinds of people, just as you are now, came together to figure out how to get it in that location. At the time, we needed state, county, city approval, at least. And we had to get it there and we had to put it on something. And we made a plaque of all the people that donated, although I didn't calculate very well because it cost as much to put the names on the plaque as the gift that they'd given. So we asked for $50 each, and that's exactly what it cost to put the name on the plaque. So that was not a successful fundraiser. But it's a little bit of history if you take a look at that plaque and see who was around and who was doing what in those days. I personally am very grateful to still be around. That date sort of gave me the creeps that you announced, Phil. Anyway, there it has sat. And now apparently it needs to be moved, probably because ODOT or somebody wants the spot.
Casey has said the plan is to reconfigure the Y, but there's no date assigned yet. But
Well, might as well get ahead of the system. I'm just so grateful that these spurs now are. I mean, may I tell a story on Phil? When we first got this idea going, he said he'd driven by that. He doesn't know how many times, and it hadn't really landed in his heart and mind. And so I think that it would be wonderful if this sculpture that is student made and student conceived and Prineville born could be somewhere a little more visible, even some place where people could sit down or kids could climb on it. I don't know. So anyhow, thanks so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing where the Spurs end up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, I would like to add real quick, there had been a lost history on those spurs for a while, and a few years ago, they were trying to figure out where that came from, but some of us old timers remembered when they put them in place and thought they were beautiful at that time. But that spruce tree, it was supposed to grow so big.
Thank you guys very much for your time tonight. So yeah, like Phil said, he called me a couple months ago and talked to me about this. Initially, the idea was to move them to the city plaza, but through talking to people in the community and kind of feeling out what thoughts were and ideas, quite a few people thought that the roundabout on Combs Flat and Peters Road would be a really good fit for that. And so Phil and I have gone around to different organizations, Kiwanis, a few different places, and talked about that. And I got to say, consistently, the roundabout gets voted the highest amount of votes out of it. I agree, you could be able to climb on them here, but with being back from the road, I think you might get kind of lost in the back of the plaza there, where you have the roundabout, that you have the park where hundreds of people are up there on a daily basis. You've got a school there. Eventually, hopefully we have some athletic fields up there. That's really going to be the hub of our community. And when we explain that to people, overwhelmingly, they say that's a great fit. I think another really cool thing is there's a lot of people in kind of the, 30s to 40s, 50s, people that aren't real engaged in our community. And part of that conversation, when they hear about the Spurs moving, because it's something they remember when they were in high school, they get really passionate about moving them to this roundabout. And I think it's always great to be able to bring in people that have lived here a long time and are younger people to get into the community and more involved in civic organizations. And I think this is a real opportunity to kind of get them to, dip their toe in the water and feel what it's like to get something done. And, those are your future county commissioners, your future city councilors, budget members. And I think what a great opportunity to a cool project, but also to add more people to the pool. As for the plaque, there was a question, well, if it's in a roundabout, how are you going to see the plaque? One of the ideas we've come up with is putting a bench right there off the sidewalk by the walking trails to be able to put a plaque for the original. And then on the other side, you could even do a plaque for the new people that are involved and the new people that get engaged here. My family and I walk over there. Thank you guys very much for that, by the way. That is such a great thing for our community, all those trails and how it's, asphalt and just well done. But we walk there a lot and there's very few benches up there. So adding a bench in that area where I see people of all ages, but there's seniors walking there a lot. And a lot of times those folks need a little time to sit down and take a break. So what a great opportunity to sit down, look at these spurs and kind of remember the history of Prineville. So I just wanted to come and talk about kind of our interactions with the community, and overwhelmingly we're hearing that's going to be where most people, the most people available can see it. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hey, thanks for having us. Joel Hoff with the school district. Just real quick, sounds like an absolute awesome project. Two ways we want to get involved. One of our main themes is building bridges, getting our students in the school district out in the community, doing things positive for our community, connecting with. So cool to hear the legacy of the statue. So I think it's such an awesome opportunity to have our students these days connect with that legacy and be a part of that. So that's thing number one. We definitely want to get our students involved and out in the community doing positive things. Number two, just giving students the opportunity to those real world experiences where they're welding, they're cutting, they're working with industry, they're partnering with different organizations. That's absolutely what we're about for our students, getting involved in the trades. So this is a great opportunity to get them connected, get their hands dirty, get some real world work. So we definitely support in any way we can from the school district side. So thank you so much. Thank you, Steve. Good to see you.
Hey, Joel, I have a question real quick for you. The sign that's hanging on the front, the shield that's on the front of the high school, that was student made too, right?
Yes. Yeah. Our I think called our crest.
Yeah, the crest.
Yeah, definitely.
I was in grade school, junior high when the Spurs went in. For some reason, I thought the Spurs, Clevenger did them when I was in high school, but I think I was in between the two. But yeah, I remember. So those kind of projects would be awesome to see.
Exactly. And it's plugging our Kirk County Prineville students into the legacy of Prineville. And the more ways we can do that, the better. And we're all about that. So yeah. Hey, you didn't ask Seth any questions. Thanks, guys.
I'll think of some questions for Seth.
Wayne's got just a couple comments as well.
I'm nervous. But in any case, something that Seth talked about piqued my interest. Probably 2 weeks ago now, I had a conversation with Matt Wiederhold out at the railroad, and he had shown me a picture of a bench that was made out of a railroad axle and the wheels, and they had some of them there. There's not much money in the scrap of them, very little. And so in any case, he suggested a possibility of using some of those to make some benches to use in Stryker Park 3. And we're in that process. And so I got in contact with Jason Mumm at the high school, wonderful man, in the shop area. And they're figuring out, I got myself out of the way so it could actually happen. They're figuring out how to move those things, which I think are about 3,000 pounds each, and over to the high school and make some benches. And Matt was talking about a couple, but he actually thought that he had more sets of those that were of minimal value. And so when Seth was talking about a bench, those would be another part of the culture of this community that I think is something we should always save. And, they're bulletproof once they're on the
you can't do anything to those things. And so they would be past the muster right there. So just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if we can just take a few minutes and run through, I think I've got 10 slides here that are kind of quick. So is this my connection? Yep. So that, of course, is Spurs, where it sits today, and you'll see at the bottom of it the plaque that we've talked about several times. So Ellen already went through some of this, so I think I'll skip reading that. But we've given ourselves, although I don't know if the whole committee knows it, the name of our committee is GUS, Giddy Up Spurs, the Committee to Relocate and Rediscover Spurs. I've got copies if anybody would like to see them. I can leave them tonight that you can legibly read all of the names on the plaque, but it is most impressive, including the 12 students who actually did the welding. And we do propose mounting this original bronze plaque. We had a little, I don't know if it's the same concept or not, but on a cement pedestal near an adjacent sidewalk by the roundabout. So where to put it? City Plaza, Combs Flat. This is what it would look like from the original, well, not the original idea was to put it in the raised platform where Maverick was, but Steve Uffelman convinced me in no uncertain terms that it wasn't the right scale and that and maybe we should look around a little bit. But actually, Josh came up with several locations, and this became certainly Marv's favorite, my favorite at the time, and I think it would be a classic. And there it is in the roundabout. I since have come to like this a lot because of the fact that there may be a community center. I was told last night by Les Williamson that there's still room for, if I'm wrong, if not my fault, 1,500 more homes up at Ochko and Iron Horse. And so that will indeed be a central part of the city, no question. We're endorsed by the Crook County Foundation Board. They've studied it. The Chamber of Commerce also endorses the project. Kiwanis, as I said, gave us our first seed money, and many, many others in the community. So the big picture, you all will remember the gardens at the Belknap Exhibit Center that you support currently with a 5-year landscape maintenance award. I think there's another 3 years on that. And that has created a new and appealing focal point in downtown Prineville. I think relocating Spurs affords that same opportunity to have an impact visually as a special space to celebrate and preserve the Western way of life. But imagine this, imagine a 10-year goal starting with this movement of placing outdoor art in well thought out locations in the plaza and throughout downtown. And I quote, everyone is drawn to different characteristics of art. Things like form, texture, scale, all have the ability to elicit a response. The key is to acknowledge that response by placing the sculpture in a landscape that will maximize the reaction. And that's by Tierra Sculptures, who does this for a living. They actually design and place public art throughout the whole country. And finally, from the Western Art magazine, I quote, for Western artists who ranch and live the cowboy lifestyle, their art is forever influenced by the actual real-time ranch experience. Pushing mother cows and calves to summer pasture, watching the sun set behind granite spires, feeling awed by the beauty of rustic outbuildings and old corrals, or witnessing the grace and athleticism of a cutting horse are experiences the Western artist is forever influenced by. And finally, Prineville celebrates its image as the cowboy capital of Oregon. Spurs, Maverick, and war paint have created a great starting point to enhance the Western way of life theme that resonates within our community. So thank you very much for having us tonight.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Can you go back to where you showed in the roundabout? Okay, so is it gonna be like on this side of it? Is it gonna be more centrally located? Or have you not decided that yet? And that's just a picture of how it looks there.
That is strictly a picture that I'm at the 5th grade level with photoshopping, so that's the best I could do. There actually is, though, a little point of discussion there. One thought is that Spurs, when it's relocated, will not include that cement base, and instead it'll be mounted to a platform, much like war paint is out wherever direction war paint is, and brought down to ground level. And the thought is that it might even enhance Spurs more if it's down on ground level.
Be more centrally located instead of on one
It
side.
has to
and
be,
the other.
it has to
Okay.
be in the middle because of
Yeah.
safety issues. and-
That would be the assumption.
Probably the biggest issue for you folks is the orientation of it is that it has to be in the middle.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But is it, so you'll contemplate and get back to us, I trust, with your decision on if the project's a go and where your favorite spot is to locate it?
I'd
Can
like
you
to,
clarify the ask that you're making to council tonight again? You had made it at the front of your presentation, but it'd be nice to hear it again.
So the ask is to get approval. When I talked with Casey originally, there was a question about who actually owned it. And I think perhaps that council did decide that there was no clear ownership, and that because of that, that the city could assume, this was my interpretation of the way Casey explained it to me, because it was not clearly owned, at least recorded, by anybody that we could identify, that the city would assume and would feel comfortable making the decision to relocate it. ODOT, again, Casey gave me the name of Aaron Smith. ODOT is all for it. There's no question. It's up to us. Their concern is the 2 or 3, 4 hours that traffic might be impeded, and the city has experience with managing those kinds of right-of-way issues with big trucks and whatnot. So they gave it a big thumbs up. Just want to be informed. I see Jared, I see you. What was your question again, or?
My question, well, I don't think the council's ever interpreted the ownership of the Spurs, but notwithstanding that, I'm asking you what you're specifically asking council to approve.
To approve it being picked up, relocated, and managing that process on behalf of our committee.
With the
location.
located in the roundabout itself is what I understand.
Does that make sense, Marv? I mean, we've talked about it at length.
I'd like to say just a few things. When we originally met, we talked about it being an art piece that could be walked up to, looked at. It's close to the war paint. It's the courthouse, of course, is considered a work of art. And of course, with Bowman Museum and all the things that have happened down there, we thought it would make a great foot traffic item to enjoy. And that's personally why I liked it the best. I think the roundabout's okay, but people drive by it coming and going to work, and they're most citizens. The whole idea, in my opinion, was to appeal to the visitors to Prineville and us to also feel ownership to it. And I think the best place was right here in the plaza, and that was, you did good on that photo art anyway, because it showed that location that we looked at, because we looked at a number of them. We looked at Pioneer Park. We talked about a couple locations there, and they just wouldn't fit. You couldn't put them in the courthouse yard. There's a number of reasons why. And if you go out and you take a look, there's actually 3 places in this back that could be done in the plaza, and it would really, again, be a very appealing location and make the art be appreciated like it should. I like the idea of the kids climbing on it and knowing that it's a fun thing, and the heritage and of the Western tradition, I think, make them love cowboys more.
And finally, I'll say that in one of the discussions I had, it was with Steve Holliday, but when he was talking, we were talking to them kind of anecdotally about this project. And I could just see his eyes light up. He says, wow, if Spurs was there, talking about in the plaza. So imagine if we had another statue of Chief Palina, and he started going on. So this idea of maybe this being the start of an effort to kind of concentrate perhaps on some larger than life public art in Prineville is appealing to me.
So maybe the big question, what I'm understanding is to determine the council to determine a location. Can that be assumed one of the asks currently is? What?
I'm perfectly happy with it moving wherever you decide to put it.
Well, and
No, and I'm not.
I
I
don't
was
have an
laughing.
argument with that either, but I'm not sure the group.
Should we make it? Is it going to be up to us where it goes?
Apparently,
it goes
I
on
mean, I
city
think
property,
the
yes.
initial ask is simply if the city council is interested in assisting in this project to even move the Spurs somewhere in this locality. I think that's the most uncontroversial question on the table. The location of the Spurs seems to be a bit ambivalent right now, and perhaps additional work needs to be done there. So at the basic level, I think if this council, and I'm sorry, Mr. Burgess, if I speak, then you can correct me.
No.
But I think at a basic level, the simple question is whether this council is in agreement to direct public works staff and city administration to work with Gus in regards to the movement and eventual location of this statue or artwork. Because I do believe that it's not just as simple as throwing 3 sites up there and you all voting on it. I mean, they have to be analyzed in regards to the cost of putting it in a roundabout, which is probably going to need landscaping to support it. You're going to need analysis on safety, for instance, if you're putting it out in the plaza. So I think there's additional questions in regards to the actual location that at least needs to be vetted a little bit before voting on that. But the whole concept of moving the Spurs and assisting this committee with public resources or city resources, I think is what the council could certainly move forward on to tonight.
Well, that, obviously I couldn't have put it any better, but that really is the central question. I agree.
Marvin, just to expand a little bit on what you said, I was quite involved when war paint went in out here. And I really wanted war paint to go up on the hill in the roundabout. And when we had the dedication for it, a lot of people told me, you should leave that here in the plaza because people want to look at it. They want to read the plaque, and that isn't the right place in the roundabout because you don't want them slowing down to look. I can see the same thing in a roundabout up here. Even if you put benches out there, people still got to walk in front of the traffic to get out there to look at it and stuff. So to me, that isn't a good location. I like the idea of moving them so they get some exposure. I even thought about the fairgrounds, somewhere in the fairgrounds, and that'd be up to the fair board in the county if you did that. But to me, you get a lot of people out the fairgrounds that has time to walk by and look at things. And, during the rodeo, the races, the fair, and there's 150 events a year out there and stuff. And so I don't think the roundabout's the right place for it for those reasons.
I can't help but say one more thing that I asked Greg Congleton's opinion on this several months ago, just him being involved in the other 2 public art pieces. And his original concept would be to put it in the roundabout, but at the flagpole at the high school. So I took it upon myself to go talk to Jake and that was not really. I don't think we really wanted to. We could see that as an annual, let's decorate Spurs, by each graduating class. But so the discussion's been going on for quite a while, and I'd like to think there are 2 locations, the one that we've shown here that should be considered. Fairgrounds has come up before.
So I think it's fair to say that we would all support relocating this, and I'm confident in moving forward on that motion tonight. However, in regards to where it goes, I feel like myself, I won't speak for the rest of the council, but would like some time to maybe consult with constituents. Maybe we can put a poll up or something on our city Facebook page or something. Let's see what the people, how they feel. And Seth's done a lot of his own due diligence and talking to folks, and they support the roundabout idea. Personally, I think the roundabout sounds great, but let's take some time and ourselves to talk with people. But fully support relocating it. Absolutely.
Jared, I have a question for, when Marv talked about kids crawling on it and climbing on it and that, is that a liability for the city, or is that kind of like the parks where if kids get hurt on it, it's not our responsibility? It's their parents. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if I was unaware of this discussion tonight, so I'm not necessarily prepared to answer that liability question tonight, but it's certainly worth looking into. It's definitely, I wouldn't say like playground equipment like you would see at the park, which has an inherent risk of injury attached to it. But yeah, so that's just something we would look into. Again, the location just seems a little premature tonight. The concept here really is if the city council is in agreement with having city staff and administration work with this committee to get this project giddied up, pun intended, that would be what you would be doing tonight.
You need a motion. Do we need a motion for that?
Based on the amount of discussion we've had tonight, I think it's
I would move that city staff participate in with Gus to relocate Spurs to a yet to be determined spot.
Let's second that.
Have a motion and a second.
I have a question then. So you want the staff to make the decision with Gus as opposed to the council making the decision on the siting?
No, I think it's just to assist it right now, to assist in moving forward with moving it, then come back later to
To
the
get it to the
location.
high school, to get it refurbished and so forth.
And then recommendations for an eventual location would be
Okay.
before Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, so we have the motion and second. Any other questions or before? I want to make sure we get everything correct. If none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're willing to help.
Thank you for all your help tonight. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Longer than I thought.
Yes.
I was lost. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
So sorry. Are you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
All right, now I forgot okay, location of Spurs, no council presentations, council business. Item 3, intent to award the Main Street paving and stormwater project. Mike Casper.
Good evening, council. Mike Kasperger, Assistant City Engineer for the record. In your package, you have a staff report for the Main Street paving and stormwater project. It's to pave between 3rd and Main and Lynn Boulevard. We have a section between 3rd Street and 1st Street that is going to be ground and inlaid. And then from 4th Street to Lynn, also ground and inlaid. And then between 1st and 3rd Street, we've got several puddling issues. So it's going to be a complete rebuild through that section. We've also got a little bit of stormwater work that we're going to do on 3rd and 4th Street. They'll be tied into the existing stormwater. And we bid it 2 weeks ago. We came in with 5 bids, and in your packet, you see that we had a low bid of 621,000 and a high bid of 1.4 million. That was an outlier for sure. The apparent low is Tailored Northwest, and they have worked with us extensively in the past and have done excellent work. As a matter of fact, they're the company that did the Combs Flat project that we all love so much. I think that's all I have to say about that. So the staff recommends that the city council approve the intent to award the Main Street paving and stormwater improvements to Taylor Northwest in the amount of $621,057.11. Are there any questions?
So which street did you say was going to be a full rebuild?
It's going to be Main Street, but it's going to be between First, right there at the Catholic Church.
Yep.
To the Parks and Rec building on
Oh,
Fourth,
okay.
yeah. So that's a very poor sub base through there, and we're going to just rebuild it.
I was thinking more closer to Third Street, which.
No, I'm sorry. It's Third Street, the main drag
Yeah.
through town, but it goes down to Southeast First, so it's several blocks. Okay.
Who were the other bidders, Mike?
We had Taylor Northwest was the low bid. Robinson and Owen was second. JAL was third. T-Line was fourth, and AC Monte out of Portland is fifth. And they were the very high bid. I'm not sure they were on the same page as everybody else, because everybody else was right in the ballpark.
And I think I know this, but just so everybody else, you guys have put a timeline in there so it doesn't affect rodeo and races.
That's correct.
What is those timelines?
I don't have that on my top of my head, but it is supposed to be done before.
And I reached out to Casey, and the completion date is June 19th. I believe.
Thank you.
Is what he said. So that'd be
pushing it.
be right before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that's a drop dead date. So
Yeah.
we've never had a problem with Taylor's being right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So I'll move to approve the intent to award the Main Street paving and stormwater improvements to Taylor Northwest LLC in the amount of $621,057.11.
We have motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Mike, and the reason I asked you about that street was because when they ripped up the street behind the courthouse and the new jail, we went and metal detected all that, and our former chief found all the cool stuff, and I didn't find anything. So
You didn't have the right metal detector.
no, I've got a good one. He just beat me to it. Yeah. So. All right. So let's see. All right. So item number 4, consideration of proclamation Dark Skies Week. Sponsors are Councilor Uffelman and Councilor Sumner.
Marv, go ahead.
Would like me to read tonight? Dark Sky Week 2026. Whereas International Dark Sky Week is observed in April on the week of the new moon, and whereas the experience of standing beneath the starry night sky inspires feelings of wonder and awe and encourage stewardship of our shared environment and our magnificent skies, and whereas dark skies are an integral part or aspect of the sustainability of Oregon's wild ecosystems as a key environmental factor in bird migrations, insect pollination, and human sleep patterns, and whereas Oregon dark skies are a significant natural resource with 7 accredited international dark sky places to date: Sun River, Prineville Reservoir State Park, Oregon Caves National Monument, City of Antelope, the Oregon Outback Sanctuary, Cottonwood Canyon State Park, and the City of Sisters. Whereas Eastern Oregon holds the world's largest dark sky sanctuary and an area of the largest pristine night skies in the contiguous 48 states, and whereas astrotourism, including stargazing, astronomy star parties, and dark sky photography, is an evolving facet of the outdoor recreation with the real economic benefits for communities across Oregon, and which promotes the mitigation of light pollution. And now, therefore, we, the Prineville City Council, proclaim April 13th through the 20th, 2026 to be International Dark Sky Week in Bend, Oregon, and encourage all Oregonians to join in this observance.
Thank you, Councilor Sumner. Just so you might want to also tell the council a little bit more about the event and so forth. That will have to be approved tonight and then actually proclaimed at the next council meeting.
Okay.
So that would be, and I was looking at the calendar to see if we had a meeting prior to that particular week in April, a little closer, but unfortunately we don't. So it would be the March 24th, if approved, March 24th would be the time that the mayor would read it. Sorry, you're already going through it, so I just let you go.
Okay.
You did good.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
You did a good job.
Well, there's one thing that we should think about, what is light pollution? And that's the whole thing about dark skies, is can we put lighting in that is projected downward and does everything it can to give us the best atmosphere. You know, we've had feedback from the rim up here in the past with light pollution, and they've done some things to change that. There's some things they can't do to change that. But the whole idea is to create a better atmosphere. There's described here. You think about some of the things there, bird migrations and pollination of plants and sleep patterns. Maybe if I turned my lights out earlier, I'd sleep better. But anyway, dark sky week has been, well, you saw antelope. They've talked about them at the Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council and getting theirs in place, and they were very proud of that fact, as well as sisters. So it's a good project, and I like the proclamation.
There, with our observatory and the other factors that Marv already mentioned, I think it's well worthwhile, but I would like to make one modification to this. As you look at the bottom last line, as Jerry pointed out, they're pointing this to Bend, and I think we ought to change that name to Prineville.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think they did that because that's where the initial communique came from.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So during the proclamation week that they do this or observe this, are they asking all people to try to cut back on light usage for that week? Is that what the main goal is? Just trying to, all of us to play a little part in shutting off all unused lights, those types of things to enhance the night sky that week for
Well, I
viewership?
think they're saying that you need to do that. I think they're just wanting to bring this to the public's
Awareness.
yes, and so that they're aware of the purpose behind dark skies. So
I was just asking because I'm more than happy to.
Well, plus the fact, I think, of bringing out the fact that as long as we can have the community focus their lights downwards and not up in the sky, and reduce the amount of light pollution would be helpful long term. You know, not just turn your lights down 1 week out of the year, but let's, as a general policy, to look towards reducing the amount of light pollution we cause. Still focusing on safety, but recognizing that.
Yeah, I just want in the observers part because where I camp in the Ochicos, I'm not going to give it away, but they have that big observation up there.
I can give it away.
No,
I know where you're talking about.
I know, but it's last year I drove through there and you could actually see where they set up their tents, and they must have had some booths and stuff up there, but it's pretty amazing up there, and that they get that many people. I've never actually been up there during it.
I have.
But I go through there right after, and it's like, wow, there are actually a lot of people out here where
It's a big deal.
You go down to French Winds or the Steam Mountains, you can really see the stars and stuff down there. There's no light at all. Yeah.
So we just need a motion to approve the reading of this proclamation at the next council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, staff reports and requests, city manager's report, Mr. Forrester.
Thank you, Mayor. Starting out with public safety and dispatch, please welcome Ashley and Grace, our two newest call takers who started March 2nd. and Aubrey, our newest dispatcher. All three will be headed to the academy together on March 23rd and graduating April 10th. And we will bring them to council and introduce them formally at that time. Shane, Interim Chief Shane has reported that he and Amy are working on a couple of grants for to be able to supply for free childcare seats and bike helmets for our community. The fire department will be in charge of demonstrating the proper hookup of the car seats, and a bike rodeo event is planned to distribute the bike helmets if we're successful with the grant. Plans are also underway for the annual awards banquet for the police station and dispatch group in May during National Police Week. From Public Works, Public Works is in the design phase for the water and sewer extension and connection projects. Many projects will be starting soon. You approved another one here tonight, and there'll be some travel disruptions on South Main during that project. We just recently discussed that here, and that will involve installing some storm drainage and some sidewalk repairs prior to paving. On the railroad, barley business, as expected, has slowed a bit, and the railroad is working on several other customers to continue to expand our business this year, so things continue to be busy for the railroad, and traffic is still remaining fairly strong. On the Meadow Lake side, had a very busy weekend at the end of February, and they were able to dip into our spare golf carts to accommodate all the golfers, which is a interesting metric on how busy we are out there. Dave Holman, who's been with us for a long time, 33 years to be exact, is looking at the end of June for retirement. So we'll do something to acknowledge Dave's 33 years of service. And Zach is looking to bring in some seasonal help since we didn't really have a lot of winter this year. So that's going to happen a little bit earlier than it typically happens. On the planning side, approved projects were able to continue through the mild winter, many of them wrapping up early. The Ochoco Mill apartments are expected to have available units for occupancy this spring. Josh Smith has also been working with the state on the housing analysis and looking at developing a scope of work for the code development code update. Public hearing has been scheduled for the revised economic opportunity analysis for April 14th. Human Resources working on some policy updates as we have to do periodically. IT technology, fire department phone system upgrade went smoothly. City facilities will be getting the same phone system upgrade in the near future. On the finance side, Lori's working on an investment policy, and we'll be welcoming a college intern to the team temporarily starting in June, who will help to offer additional coverage while another one of our team members goes on maternity leave. Moving on to public relations, the March social media content is rolling out, and we'll be starting our water conservation campaign very soon. For the mayor and council tonight, a reminder that registration is still open for the League of Oregon Cities Spring Conference, will be held in Pendleton, Oregon this year. Of the three counselors who's weighed in on the training opportunities, two had listed high functioning city councils as a priority, and also the other one was public meetings. So we'll get that working. Lisa's unavailable tonight, but we'll get some feedback for the council next meeting, get something scheduled. Also advising the council, there will be a Pacific Power and Light franchise agreement workshop before our next council meeting at 5:15. So Lisa will get all that out, but a reminder tonight, 5:15 on the 24th, we will have a workshop again for the Pacific Power franchise agreement with the city. Economic development and strategic opportunities. Caroline Irving had put in a request for congressionally directed funding for $2 million with the hopes that something would develop out of that. So that could be, again, we're having some success with the congressional spending to do things like work towards bringing city service to those within the city limits that don't have that. So we'll continue to work that angle. And again, we've been successful with the congressional directed spending and have a good track record. So hopefully something will develop out of that we can apply to those projects. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
What about an update, Steve, in regards to OID and water storage for upcoming season?
Well, just quickly, for those of you that maybe aren't following the information on the BOR side or the SNOTEL sites with NCRS, but we're closing in on 70% fill at Prineville right now. Flows have come down into the 400 level, which as Jerry always points out, so if we got 400 CFS in, double that, and that's the acre feet in a 24-hour period. So we've been in the 500 and 600 CFS range for 10 days or so. So roughly 1,000 acre feet per day gain, which is really important. So keep in mind that the irrigation, People's Ditch and OID, we need about 73,000 acre feet for a normal water season. And we do have first fill rights. So we're looking better. And then the balance outside that and above that is managed for, fish habitat and recreation. So it's not as bad as it was a few weeks ago when we were really concerned to be hitting 100,000 acre feet. So we're about 103 right now. We had a huge carryover amount in Ochco. So we're about 28,000 acre feet there. We need 20,000 acre feet to meet typical season. And if the reservoir gets below 5,000, about 5,500 acre feet, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, we have to start looking at pumping water into the ditch because the dead pool is about 5,000 acre feet. So we look pretty strong there. Again, I think you've heard me say it before. It's not the first year of a drought condition that really bites. It's the second year. Now, we got some stormy weather coming in. If we can peak out Prineville, let's say at 125 or 120, something like that, we're going to be pretty solid and should have some carryover water at the end of the season. So it's bad, but it's not, it could be worse. And we were looking at maybe being quite a bit worse earlier in the winter. So let's just pray for a little bit more moisture to come in and a longer stretch of gain. So, yeah. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So I don't know if you guys already went for the governor's thing for the data centers, and if you can give us an update on what happened.
Sure. And I had the opportunity, along with Mayor Beebe and Councilman Uffelman, to travel to Portland at the World Trade Center to participate in the governor's data center committee. It was a fairly long meeting. We were there about 3 hours, I think, Steve and Mayor, something like that. Yeah, Mayor was online and Steve and I were there in person. So we had a great opportunity to present our experience in Prineville, both the good and the bad, the effect on our water systems and how we reacted, which, we have a great story to tell that we were very successful in accommodating them and strengthening our own community's water resource. Traffic has been a struggle and with the ODOT funding and such, but the impact it's had on our community is overall very positive. And we were able to, in my opinion, do a really great job of outlining that for this committee. They ask a lot of very good questions. I think we had very good answers for them. I think there's a good possibility that we'll be invited back. The next chapter for that committee is to discuss the impacts on the water systems or how much water they use or don't use, depending on how you want to look at it. So I expect that we haven't heard the last from the committee. And I want to thank Mayor Beebe and Councilman Uffelman for being my wingman, and they both participated as well. I kind of led the presentation side of it, but both the mayor and Steve Uffelman jumped in and backed me up. So I'll turn it over to those guys if they have any comments about that meeting.
Steve made an excellent presentation to the committee. It was very well received and well covered all aspects. So thank you, Steve, for the presentation.
I'd just say that I reiterated, Jason put a story in the paper today about it too, but the committee is made up of unbiased people. None of them have anything to do with the data center or tech industries. So they were asking some really good questions. Like they genuinely don't know what we've gone through or what the data centers do. And there was a lot of good presentations. One person, a little iffy, skeptical, but a lot of good information came out of it. And I think the committee was genuinely happy to receive it. And I did plant a seed in there about water usage. So at the end, and so hopefully that comes back, and that's hopefully we get a chance to go back there and share more of our story.
Yep, agreed. Yeah. And thank you two for being there, representing Prineville.
Great, thank you.
Mayor, I have one thing in regards to Shane, in regards to the bike rodeo, if you're successful with that grant, I guess I would like to ask if you guys would consider naming that the Mark Monroe Bike Rodeo in memory of Mark. He always put that on. I worked with him when we held it out here, and if that is something that would be considered.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great idea. And you're right. He did put those on. We used to do the little free circus thing over here. And that's kind of where it actually started, was the bike rodeo. We've now kind of partnered with the schools and to do that. So we're working hopefully with ODOT and these grants to not just get the helmets and the car seats, but some other equipment as well. But that's a great idea. So thank you for that.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, we'll move to item number 6, the Sea Hill property acquisition discussion. Josh Smith.
Thank you, council. I will note that we have been invited back for the water. The call came to me.
Oh.
So you just weren't here. So they did inquire about having Prineville specifically in that meeting. So that'll come back.
Great.
All right, what we have today on this discussion topic is kind of an opportunity that came to us. Parks and Rec has some property they've been kind enough to wait for us to get our opinion on what we should take advantage of this opportunity or not. So this property here is a Sea Hill, and we call it the Sea Hill and Ridenhour property. Sea Hill has to do with the neighborhood to the right, or I guess I should say to the east, and then the Ridenhour happens to be just an old name that used to own the property. Property is up kind of in the northwest of town between Madras and Lamonta. It's kind of tucked back there between what the Western Skies subdivision and kind of north of the creek along the Studebaker area. And this is a very wet part of town. I know Jerry and Scott know this pretty well. These areas have drainage issues. I'll just go into it. You'll see this map again. You know, the hazards in this area are such that it's hard to imagine developing this area, which is one of the reasons Parks picked it up to begin with. But you can see the 100-year floodplain, which is the yellow. I should use a mouse. I don't know if there's anybody online, but the yellow is the 100-year. The orange you see here is that floodway, this kind of the concentration, kind of an unbuildable area, very concentrated in this area. Significant groundwater in this area. The Sea Hill subdivision to the east here sees a lot of groundwater come up into the foundations. These drainages that you see in blue, we actually had to come in and, I don't know, what was that, 6-7 years ago, and actually scrape that out because water was coming through this wetland and actually coming up in people's yards. So that's how significant this concentration of groundwater is in this area, which of course creates the wetlands and all the natural features that you see there. And then I kind of throw on this poor vehicle access. This is an old trailer park that was converted to a subdivision. Those roads are not built for heavy traffic for any significant development back here. And really neither is 12th and Sea Hill. These are really unimproved streets. So it's kind of got a lot of hazards, a lot of problems with this. I showed this map. This is a flood acquisition map. I've floated to OEM, Oregon Emergency Management, and FEMA over the years. I made this years ago. These are kind of all the properties, vacant properties I've highlighted that I was hoping to apply for grants and get purchased, right? Unfortunately, and you can see those properties are right here. You can see how the floodplain kind of just concentrates in this area and then thins back out. When we went through that flood assessment last year, what's happening is the area of our properties the city gets really flat. And so that floodplain is just pooling and spreading out in these areas. And so you can actually see that concentration. And that's one of the problems, is why the groundwater is pooling right there. So I thought, hey, we should probably pick these up, try to get some grant money to do it. FEMA does not, and OEM, they generally will not purchase properties unless there's something on that property that can be lost. So you almost have to develop it. If it gets destroyed, then they'll provide you money. The idea here would be to not develop it in the first place, so we don't go through that issue. So that's kind of why I show this map. A little bit of background on the property. This is all laid out in the staff report, but back, I've been actually dealing with this property about 20 years now. Back in 04, 05, 06, kind of had that boom time. This was really under heavy pressure to be developed, high density housing. They were going to kind of fill it all in and put in a bunch of homes and townhomes and things like that. 2008 kind of shut that down. They held it for a long time. By 2019, the developer decided to divest. They wanted to sell. That's when Dwayne, the previous Parks and Rec manager, I talked to him because the city did not have the means at the time to even make that purchase. We had just done the wetlands. We had just purchased Barnes Butte. We had just did the police department remodel. I mean, we were just at the end of our rope at that point. And Parks, Dwayne always had this kind of vision to do something with the Ridenauer property, bridging over to Ward Field. And then this kind of lended itself to be kind of an extension of that. So he was interested, had a kind of a vision for it. That was then. This is now. The Parks Board is more interested in building active parks, kind of like you see behind us, getting pavement done at Crooked River Park, getting the lights at the Davidson Field, doing those capital improvement projects. And they used their system development charges to purchase this property. And so that took a large bank of money out of their ability to do capital improvements. So they're looking at this as a way to recover some of those SDC funds, put it right back into the community. And I basically said, let's pitch it to the council first before you go sell it privately to see if this is something they want to preserve for the natural function and natural habitat and parks in the future. So why would the city want to do that? Strategic value for the city, really first, is just to prevent development in the first place. Disaster relief, we really don't want to see infrastructure, streets and things running through this. It'd be very difficult to maintain and manage. The drainage it's actually acting as a city drain now. We're not having to pay for it. It is functioning that way. And we don't really control it. And of course, enforcement, that goes, if you develop something, you're going to have all kinds of enforcement issues with how people manage this area. The police enforcement for keeping people in and making them do what they want, that's going to happen regardless of who owns it. I know they have a lot of issues with little motorbikes in there right now. That's just going to be an ongoing thing that the police department would have to enforce, whether it's private or public. The potential for wetland and floodplain mitigation is pretty high. Wetland mitigation, as you know, we built one over on the our wastewater treatment facility. ODOT came to us and said, hey, let's build this wetland. We need it for our mitigation and we'll give you some credits back. Those credits came in very handy on the Combs Flat project. We didn't have to mitigate anything on that. So that saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars in about 5 years of trying to maintain some mitigation somewhere else. This would be a candidate that we could offer to somebody or do ourselves. And on the floodplain mitigation, it gives us an opportunity to do something to manage our floodplain. You saw how big that is. This is a situation where we either do two things. One would be to actually create more flood retention. The other actually idea came from Councilor Uffelman of creating a floodplain mitigation bank. So if this FEMA BIOP thing ever comes up, we would have an opportunity to actually, you could go in here and you could literally take, say, this area right here and just dig it out and say, there's our mitigation. We just mitigated it for the whole town, something like that. It gives us an opportunity for that. We still, right? Yeah, we could, you can do, there's a lot of things you can think about going into the future. So that goes into the neighborhood connection. So that right now there is a connection that cuts through here. It doesn't lose the potential to be a park in the future, whether it's just passive trails or even an active park on some of this drier area. The city would then maintain the option to sell part of it if they wanted to later. If they felt an area of it doesn't need protection, then we could go ahead and do something like that, but we would control how, when, and where. So then we could carve up the areas that we designate for that purpose versus just giving it up to the public or private ownership and seeing how they develop it. And then the last point would be anything we purchase this property for would go back into the system development charge bank for parks. And they can only use those funds for capital improvement projects. So it's kind of like providing parks money directly back to the community. Go ahead.
I don't know if you're the right person to ask or if I need to wait.
I do have members of the audience here willing to answer questions as well.
So it says that there's 8 acres that could be developed into residential parcels. What, can you show me what on there are the 8 acres that could be developed into residential?
It's probably right in, so there used to be a house here. You can kind of see it right there. That's gone. This area here is all in the floodplain, but it's at least higher than everything else. There's also an old barn that used to sit here. Potentially that could be technically a site. And gosh, this mouse. And there used to be a house sitting here on the Ridenauer property. I don't know if the 8 acres is referring to, this is actually part of the old Yancey subdivision. There's actually 9 lots sitting there, big lots. Sea Hill right away. Actually, this is the Sea Hill Road from that old subdivision. It's just never been developed because you really can't develop it.
I know that property very well.
Yeah.
I would say that 8 acres is, I'm not sure you could find 8 acres out there that
Could be developed.
2 foot down, you're not hitting water.
You will be in the water. This is the only area that we even debated, like, you could do something on that would be relatively okay. Without getting into too much stuff, but you'd have to extend this road out, come in, maybe do 2 more rows of homes, but you're going to be in ground. All your infrastructure under the street will be in water. I don't know if that's something we want to do or maintain in the future. So right now, this is all a pressure sewer system that would be utilized. I don't even know if the wet well would handle it, but
Josh,
so
correct. It was 6 years ago. We went in and
this one here,
2 weeks down there, opening up all those ditches to get flow back to Ochco Creek, because of course over the years they drew in and all that, and it was causing surfacing water in the entire Sea Hill area there, and also backing up over that all drains, that neighborhood drains, the stormwater drains in there, that the pipe was so far below water level that it was backing up in there, and we were having big problems. So
I raised the issue, several months back because I saw the possibility. I did not see a possibility of development of that for commercial use or for residential use because of the water issue, but the potential for floodplain mitigation, which I felt down the road we're desperately going to need in one way or the other. And this is an opportunity to transfer money back to parks that can be used for the community. So the money isn't squandered in that respect. It's going to be community money used for community things and giving the city some benefit long-term for floodplain mitigation. So.
And I know that one subdivision, when I was working for the city, the pipes that flowed out of the ground, we put the pipes in and, and stuff.
Yeah.
And you try to put your sewer in and you can't because you can't get below the water. So it's better used for a mitigation bank in my mind than it is for anything else.
the north there on Sea Hill, which is the furthest road over, Josh, over toward the property,
that's Sea Hill
those
itself.
last
Yeah.
5 houses in there were put in recent past, and it was
On the right-hand side?
yeah,
these,
It was
these
it was
homes
a
here.
mess that we dealt with along with the contractor trying to get those utilities in there. Which, then when we have a problem in the future, really makes it tough on our public works department to try to do repairs. It's all cattails,
Well, I only brought up about the development because you said something in your speech and then Mike said something, or in your presentation.
Yeah.
So I guess if you were to maybe consider developing, that would come back to the council again for our approval?
Yeah, so I would, well, if the city owned the property, you then as council could decide how that would work and do, instead of just giving it up to the private sector, right? Or trying to work through Parks, because Parks they're wanting to offload this. They're wanting to get their money so they can start building parks, and this would give us time to think about those types of things. So if you chose that, hey, we want to recoup some of our funds, it's possible. It doesn't, the option doesn't go away, is what I'm trying to say.
I think there's a pretty outstanding reason why the private sector never developed this. It's not easy to develop. And on top of that, as an investment, which most real estate developers look at, the cost of flood insurance on development in this area doesn't make it very appealing. So in that regard, it's something that the city could benefit with the acquisition of. And like Mr. Uffelman said, in flood mitigation work. So I don't know how we get there, but yeah.
So
There's another aspect in this also. If we were to want to have some trails in there, I understand Parks and Rec would be very willing to manage and oversee that trail system, if that's direction we should go down the road. So
Somewhat in there?
trails. So there could be trails. Trails could be put in there.
Yeah, I thought you said trailers.
No.
Storage yard, yeah.
Trails.
It's a fairly blighted area as it sits right now. It's not very appealing. We'll put it that way.
Right, and the area could be implemented into the park management agreement that the city has.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. Steve Waring is here. If you'd like to hear from Parks, go ahead, Marv.
I was curious about the maintenance. I believe I read something about it being
Yeah.
mowed, but
So right now, I think that's basically, and Steve can speak more to that. I think that we kind of mow it just to keep the fire hazard down. There you can actually see the mowing pattern on Google Earth if you look at it. That's about it, other than keeping people out of there that are doing nefarious things, which we would have to do pretty much anyway. So there is some cost to owning property, just like Barnes Butte or anything else. The only thing we're asked, I do want to say before Steve and those guys come up, we're not actually voting on this tonight. This is just a consensus. If you need more information, that's fine. If you want to discuss it at the next council meeting, that's fine. All we need is a general consensus at some point, and then we'd bring a resolution back for an official vote. So.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback a little on that. So if after you talk tonight with the other members, interested parties, if you feel like you need additional information, you could request whatever information you'd like staff to work on. Or if you feel that you've gotten enough information tonight, you could ask to move forward to have a formal resolution brought forward next meeting, which you would be able to vote on at that particular meeting.
Does Steve have any more to say?
I'm sure he has something to say.
Good evening. This conversation came about as we were looking at redeveloping about 3 years ago our capital improvement plan. We needed to take a comprehensive look at all of our parks, and we needed to really factor in where can we enhance our facilities to where we can get more use out of them. I think we had a lot of deferred maintenance through the years, and some of our examples are just the infield material on the ball fields, the clay that's really slimy and hard and difficult for kids to slide on. And it takes a lot to get it back up and running in the spring. And so we made an effort to try and replace that material with more of a pumice type material that drains very easily, gets the kids back out there now in March when Little League Baseball starts back up again. So those types of projects, we're looking at increasing capacity, enhancing the existing facilities, possibly acquiring additional space to add more ball fields. Because as we add those 1,500 or whatever the number is of the new homes coming to the community and these multifamily homes, we really would be remiss to not have some sort of plan for addressing that and trying to get those facilities for these new folks. So when we look at this property, typically in the industry, you look at a level of service and you drop a pin on all the parks or neighborhood parks in the community within our district. And you want about a half a mile radius from every resident that lives within the district to be able to walk to one of these facilities. This property sits right next to Gary Ward Park, which addresses that with a playground enhancement there. I think that meets that need for that area and that community. We would love to do something with it for ball fields or something where we could build a bridge over it to utilize that Ridenour property, but that's $1 million bridge to put over that facility or to put at that facility. So, for just adding more walking trails for us, we feel like there's lots of those within the community. I mean, we have the 66 trails, the beautiful Barnes Butte recreation area. So we looked at win-win solutions here. And when I talked to Josh in our regular quarterly meetings, and we brought it up that we were considering selling it and just to get their thoughts. And Josh, I think, did a really great presentation on kind of where we stand. So we have kind of we've gone slow with this just to give you guys some time to look at it and see if you thought it makes sense. And so we really do think this is a win-win. Those dollars go right back into the SDC fees, and they can only be used for enhancement of facilities or purchasing new facilities. They can't be used for maintenance operation or staff raises or anything like that. So as Mr. Elfman said, we would certainly look at just adding the maintenance of, if any trails were to go out there, we just add it to our existing agreement that we have with Pioneer and the bike park and the trail here. So we really do think it's a win-win solution, and hopefully you guys do also.
Were these parcels in excess in your master plan when you guys did that, Steve, or can you talk about that?
I think that the master plan addresses acquiring and holding on to natural resources within the community. And I think that this would certainly fall under one of those natural resources. But from a development standpoint, it's really hard for us to do anything with it. And so, again, adding more passive trails, especially in a neighborhood like this, where I think any traffic going through either side of those is going to be a disruption to the homeowners. In fact, the one neighborhood to the west side built a gate there, a fence to block any type of access into it. I think the message is pretty loud and clear. There's signs up on people's driveways, stay out. So, and we get complaints and calls all the time about illegal dirt bike riders back there, illegal hunting of birds in there. And so it's just kind of a piece of land that we really don't know what the best use of it is. And if the city can use it for mitigation credits, we would be willing to do, and I can't approve this, the board would have to approve it, but we'd be willing to do a payment plan over a few years, whatever makes the most sense. That, again, this could be a win-win situation for both entities.
Thank you.
Yep.
And just for the record, that's Steve Warren of Crook County Recreation District. Our city manager or city recorder is not here tonight, and I'm going to publicly apologize to her on the record for not doing a better job during this first debate about having people identify themselves on the record. So she can.
I should have known that. I've been doing this for 30 years. I should have known that.
What's that?
I said I should have known that. I've been doing this for a long time. So
It's okay. I realize could have done better.
Okay.
Any other questions for Steve? No. Mike Warren, your realtor record is here. He put together the pricing. If you'd like to hear from him, he's available.
While Mike's coming up, I got a question about the property. I mean, I love the idea of using it for the flood mitigation credits. Is there any way we can tile that if we were to get it, could we tile that property to try to alleviate some of that water flow?
Yes. So that would be a flood mitigation and a drainage mitigation and all that kind of things to get some of that drainage to move through faster.
That assist any of those houses around there to maybe alleviate some of that flooding around them? If it all centralized in that area and moved out?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially what we're doing with these two drainages here.
Yeah.
It's essentially a tile. you could do more and try to see if that would work. The lower one on the Ridenhour property actually comes clear over here. I call it Megan's Ditch, but no one owns that. It's everybody's backyard and it flows all year round. And it just kind of drains this area and empties right here. If anybody decided they just didn't want that anymore, it's just gonna back up. So some of that, those are the concepts that would be an option if we owned it. If we don't, they're not.
All right, Mike Warren, Crooked Properties, Realtor rec for the city, the county, and now Parks and Rec, I guess. I did want to address your question about the 8 acres. That was an approximate. Okay, so I mean, that's not a definite. What I was trying to do is show 3 different ways to obtain the value. That's what Josh had asked me to do. Where did you come up with the value? So that was just one of the ways. And then in the report, it shows a couple different ways. So I just wanted to answer that. And if you guys got any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer it. This is up to them too, but I wanted to address that.
Thank you.
Did you guys have any other questions for me? Okay.
I had a question, Mike. Sorry, I'm trying to.
We're quick enough.
No, I wasn't quick enough getting to your assessment here. You mentioned that there was a comparable property parcel sold in Western Sky. Do you remember what road that was on?
It's right here. It's this
Yeah.
property right here.
It was just a vacant lot.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what I used to grab cost per square foot.
Okay.
And then there's a formula to go back on when it doesn't have anything,
Right. Okay.
you know.
It's in the floodplain as well. Of course, it has services to it. So it'd be similar to someone, say, putting this house back and
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Do we need a vote on anything or just a?
No, not a vote. So we need to know, if the first thing to sort of recognize or discuss as a group is to see if you need any more additional information before a resolution comes to the council. And if you don't, then as long as there's a couple of you that wish to have a resolution come forward, then we would bring it. If there was an overwhelming 7-0, no, we don't want to hear any about this, then we wouldn't. So that's in essence what we're looking at tonight.
I'm in favor. Bring a resolution.
Okay, so we'll bring a resolution, but does the council need more information at all?
I don't.
Okay,
No, but I am in favor of having a resolution brought forward.
I will put it on the agenda.
okay, and I will work with Steve Waring on the 3-year payout because we have to go through their board for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not going to fit the BB Sports Complex, but that's all right.
Maybe part of it.
All right, we're down to council reports. Do any of the council members have any reports?
Makes sense.
Good EDCO meeting the other day. Yesterday. Sorry. More people didn't show up.
For which?
EDCO?
Oh, the EDCO, yes.
Yeah.
Mike and I talked to you. My work schedule changed this week, so I was unfortunate I couldn't make it. And those EDCO, I don't know who the speaker was at this one, but in the past, we've had some good speakers. So, all right, no ordinances, no resolutions. We're down to visitors' appearances and requests. Would anybody like to speak to the council before you were just up here? So, no, I just kidding.
Mike Warren, Crooked Properties. So you guys just mentioned EDCO. I was glad I was able to come tonight because a couple things I wanted to mention. This CV International gave the city amazing kudos, as far as them working together with you guys. So maybe you as council members don't realize and hear it enough. I know you realize it because you work with them, but the relationship I personally have with all the city staff, manager, and Jared, which is sometimes can be odd with an attorney, but we do bounce stuff off of each other. But you guys really have to understand that how I hear from commercial brokers, not only just in Central Oregon, but even down in the valley, how when they call here and they try to get questions, how they're treated. And realtors don't give people kudos. Okay. So when I hear it and being realtor of record, it's a huge thing. The second part of the realtor of record thing is, and I don't remember the bill that came out. It primarily has to do with the county, but there's a whole different process we have to do now for foreclosures on taxes. That has triggered a lot of other counties across the state to really look at getting a realtor record involved. And although there are different counties, I've been asked a couple different times how we work it here and our relationship and things like that. And it's so easy to talk about. But I think yesterday at the EDCO meet, well, Steve was there, well, Josh was there too, so I'm glad Josh was there because they mentioned Josh, and it's super important to, I think, for you guys to be recognized, and that's all I wanted to say. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak to us from the council or from the audience? Is there, all right, no one on Zoom? All right, well, thank you all for being here, but we're down, open to a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
So we had a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.